I've had people tell me in my life a lot, you should be satisfied with what you have. The Bible says to be satisfied, to want nothing. And though there's a really big misunderstanding in being satisfied and wanting to develop and grow. They're two separate things, because if you're satisfied with everything as is, it can turn into complacency really quick. And then that complacency keeps you stuck in habits that you're tolerating, in a life that you're tolerating, because you're like, well, I'm satisfied with what I have. Just be happy for what you have, and then you don't grow from that point. And we are meant to grow. Everything that's alive grows and develops. Everything. That's how you know it's alive. So if you were to buy flowers and they didn't bloom to their fullest, and you knew the potential in that flower was to bloom really full and really big, but yet it didn't do it, it just kind of went a little bit and then just said, well, I'm happy with this, I'm not going to grow anymore, I'm going to stay right here, and then died, you would be disappointed in that. So don't you think that God is disappointed when he knows you have the potential in you, right? The seeds in you to grow and bloom and develop. That's why he gives us gifts that he wants us to cultivate. This is why it's so important to remove this distraction, because we live in an age where there is just things coming at us. It's so much information and so much coming at us that we don't really know how to get out of this practically. Like, we don't know what steps to take to really free ourselves, and starting in our home, like free ourselves from the overstimulation in our home. It's just go, 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 TV in the background, social media, this, everything's just shopping, eating, doing, fixing the house. It's just like go, go, go all the time. And, God designed us to produce and pull potential from us to make a difference in the world. And we can't do that when we're suffocated by stuff, or we're overwhelmed by life and so many things. And there's some things that you're not going to be able to change. They're out of your control. There's some really probably big tasks that you just can't tackle. There might be huge bills and huge things that you're just overwhelmed with. So you're like, well, I don't even know where to start because it's just too much. Start with what you can. Start with your home. This is the easiest place to start. You might feel like your life is like this big tangled mess and all of these things. And if you can just grab that one little string and start untangling it, it'll lead to the next, and it'll lead to the next. So start with what you can do. Start with your home, your space, your surroundings, and do whatever you have to do to get things in order. Like, get to the point where you're so unsatisfied that it moves you into a creative state to do better and be better. So use that unsatisfaction as to move you, to push you. Dissatisfaction is such a powerful thing because it'll move us quickly. And I get a lot of people asking me about, what about if it's your spouse? What if the spouse is the one that has the spending problem or the eating problem or the bad habits, and you don't know what to do? And it's a very difficult situation to be in, because to you can see things clear and they just can't see it clear yet, or they're not willing to be honest with themselves. Most of the time they're in denial, or they're just haven't hit rock bottom. They're tolerating it. Remember, you're always tolerating what you don't hate. So hate is like the strongest form of, you're not going to tolerate it if you hate it. If you kind of don't like it, or you're like, yeah, I wish I didn't, they're not there yet. So listen to the words that come out of their mouth when it comes to that situation, because they might be justifying it, and you could pick up on those little terms like, it's not that bad, oh, I know I should. That's a big one. I know I should. I know. It's like they know, or they say they know, but really they don't, because knowing and doing are two different things. And so the best thing would be for you in that situation is to be the example. Do what you have to do. Like, if there's a husband and wife and one person's focusing on health and the other person's not, well, just you keep focusing on your own and let them watch. If they don't want to, or they're not ready to, then that's on them. It's not on you. You're accountable for your actions. They're accountable for theirs. And it's sad because you see, hey, there's more potential. You could be better. You could live better. You don't have to carry around with all that weight and your joints hurting and, it's just, you can't change somebody just because they need it doesn't mean they want it. They have to really want it. Each individual has to get to that point where they want it. I remember standing in my packed garage, and this was a spot that I had spent a ton of time because this is where I stored everything, a lot of stuff other than the closets that were packed. So I stored them in the garage, so it was packed, and I don't know how many hours I wasted in there, but I stood there and I just looked around and I was just like, what am I doing? I'm spending so much time in this dark, dingy, dusty garage. It's crowded by stuff. I'm literally making aisles with bins to walk through. Oh, they're labeled and it looks nice like a store, and I gotta move all these big heavy bins to just get to the stuff, because if I needed to dig something out, I had to move 5 bins to do it. So it was just ridiculous. And one day I'm standing in there and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I really doing? I'm wasting my life in here. And again, this is my story. I know not everybody has maybe had that chronic of a problem. And I cried out to God and I was just like, help me. What am I doing? And it's very interesting because I could sense and really hear the demeanor when God answered me and said, I'm not the one keeping you here. You are free to change whenever you want. And it was really in a lighthearted kind of sense that I got, almost in a chuckle, like, let me know when you're ready, because I've been waiting all along. And I just thought, man, is it really that easy? And it was. I was making it so much more difficult, and it wasn't that difficult. God was ready whenever I was ready. He was just like, have you had enough? Are you done? Is this like, do I have your attention now? Are you ready to live life? And so it was just a really personal one-on-one, but it hit me hard that I thought, gosh, I am really just doing this to myself and then justifying my actions. And I can leave whenever I want. I can change. I could give up these habits and patterns. It's never too late. I can change whenever I'm ready to change. But I had to be the one ready. There was not really anybody there. And it's not anyone else's responsibility, honestly. It wasn't my husband's responsibility, even though he probably tried to direct me. But he had his own issues with food. We all have our issues, our demons, our things, our bad habits that we need help with. And that was just specifically mine. So once that took place, I got a fire. I got a desire inside me for more. This is where I wasn't satisfied. I wanted a different way of living. And it came from wanting to be my best, wanting to change, wanting to get out of this. So I was willing to do whatever. And like I've talked about in some of my other videos, I couldn't just cut the credit cards up. I had to close the accounts. I could not give myself a way out. I had to close them. And I started getting rid of stuff. Now, a lot of people ask, like, what'd you do? Did you just get rid of it all? I didn't dump it all at Goodwill because I wanted it to wanted to be purposeful and intentional. So interestingly, God brought people that needed everything to me. So there was a couple that needed some furniture and household stuff and kids' clothes. There was neighbors that needed things. I did sell a lot of it, whatever I could sell, to put towards the debt that I had incurred. And I gave a lot of it. So I did a little bit of both. It was really depending on where God was leading me, either leading me to bless or leading me, if I could use the funds or whatever. So either way, I needed to get it out. And so that was the key thing, is get it out as quickly as possible, because when you start letting go of it, you don't want to leave it all in your apartment or in your house or in your space. You want to get it out. You want to load it up and get it out as quickly as possible, so you're not looking at it. And you might have a little bit of like, oh, I just got rid of all that stuff. It might be a little shocking. You might go through a little withdrawal period because you're thinking, oh, I just got rid of that. What if I needed that? What if I needed that? But eventually that feeling goes away and you realize I didn't need it. There's only maybe 1 or 2 items that I thought, yeah, I could have used, but really I could buy it again if I really needed it. Even though I thought that I needed those items, I never got to the point where I was searching for them and they weren't there. They were unnecessary. So You have to want the new version of yourself more than the old version. You have to want the new life more than what you've already experienced. You've already experienced everything else, so why not try something new? What if your breakthrough was on the other side of you making the decision to let go of the old? What if what you've been praying for, what if your health, maybe you got achy joints, maybe you're just not feeling your best. What if your health was tied to something that you can control and you're asking God for a miracle with it, but really you have the power to do the things that need to get done to gain your health back? We always have to align our actions with what we're believing for, because it's very conflicting. If we're asking God for one thing, or we're believing one thing and we're praying about one thing, but then we're doing the exact opposite. You can't do both. You have to be really clear, because it shows this is where your faith is. It shows what you believe to be true. So if you are saying something, but you're not doing it, you don't believe it. You don't believe that it's true. Otherwise, you'd be doing it. So you got to get a really straight line between you and God and your actions and what you're doing, your thoughts. Align it up. And it's not going to be perfect every time, because you're human and you're going to make mistakes and you're going to go back into old ways sometimes. But the more that your new self makes the decision or shows up over your old self, the better. The quicker you're going to experience that new version, the new life that you're looking for. The quicker you're going to experience that. Wow, it is a beautiful, super windy day. The skies is gorgeous today. I'm trying to block the wind here. It's not working. I might blow over. So I'll give you guys a view here of where I walk, where I do my little chats. It's beautiful. This is my place to connect. Open sky and just openness. I love it. So you have to be accountable for your actions and break it up into a day-by-day thing. Don't get too far ahead. You're going to overwhelm yourself. Just stay on the day. So what I had to do is put like little lists together of what am I going to tackle today. And not every day I hit all of those things, but what were some big things I was going to tackle today? I was going to go for a walk. I'm going to get up 30 minutes earlier. I'm going to clean, some drawers. And if you find someone to donate to, it makes it much easier to get rid of things. You're actually way more motivated. When I knew of somebody that needed clothes, I'm like, I'll go through my closet right now and pull all the clothes that I know I don't need and bless that person with. And it was almost within like 30 minutes, everything was gone, took it over to that person and gone. And so when you have an end or a means and you know where that's going, it makes it much easier to get through your own clutter in your own closets. And again, I didn't focus on like health-wise stuff until like phase 2. Phase 1 was tangible, home, what could I do? I didn't want to worry about both at the same time. There's that house and then there was this house. Well, I was focusing on what I could control quickly and get done and get moving, get things going. And then when I got that under control and I realized I'm not under that foot anymore, I'm not under that, like, for me, I felt like it must have been a spiritual thing, because it was just habits. It was like how I just became that type of person who just liked to consume and shop and then I justified it, all the time. And I was still generous and I donated quite a bit throughout the past decade. But all that did was make me justify my actions even more, because I'm like, well, I'm giving and I'm helping. So I had to put a halt to all of it. I stopped volunteering during that time. I stopped donating during that time, except for when I got rid of everything. But, I after that, I didn't do any volunteering. I didn't really do a lot of outreach stuff anymore. I didn't try to help everybody anymore. I just focused. I kept it really simple. I focused on myself, my family, my kids, my home. And I didn't feel guilty about it either. Sometimes you just have to take a step back and put up boundaries and people want to hang out or they want to do stuff, I was just like, no, this is a season. This is kind of a season where I'm pulling back and I'm handling personal things that I need to do. And you don't owe an explanation to people for all that either. Like, you don't owe them an explanation while you're going through the process of changing your life. If anything, the people close to you should understand and be proud of you and say, hey, well, I'm here for you if you need anything, but not feel like you're being rude to them for stepping out of that, circle or whatever. And there was just certain things that I had to walk away from, and certain people that I had to walk away from during that time to get clarity. I could not make myself available to everybody, and I noticed I was doing that a lot. I was helping people quite a bit, doing things a lot, and I was overextending myself and my time. And you just have to take a step back and say, you know what, this is a time where I'm cultivating some healthier habits. I'm renewing myself, and the right people will understand that, and they will walk with you from a distance and root you on. The wrong people will be intimidated by it or be upset with you and make you feel bad. And why? What do you need to change? And just gently say, hey, this is just my journey. We all have a race to run. This is your journey. It's between you and God and who he's made you to be. Keep it simple. Keep it so simple. The other thing is during a lot of this time, I wasn't consistent in church all the time, because to me it felt like a big obligation to go into church. I'm still not. I get the word. I walk with Jesus daily, and I do. I feel like God needs a lot of people that go out into the world, as opposed to being a part of a church or being a group of a church. That's just me. I'm not saying either way. But for the time being, I was overextending myself and making a lot of commitments, and it just felt like more pressure and more obligations. And God gives you grace for specific seasons that you're in, and that might just be one of them. I volunteered in a church for 8 years in children's ministry, not only on the weekends, but also during the week. I would go in and clean up the children's rooms and refresh the laundry and take laundry home and sort through the toys and make sure there was nothing, broken or dangerous. And I did that for 8 years. Well, I got burnt out a little bit from it, and I just took a step back and thought, God's going to use me in a different way. And it might not be in the walls of a church. It might be walking on a path, rooftop path. But in the meantime, I needed to pull back. I needed to cut obligations with feeling like I needed to hang out with people or meet people, or people would invite me places. I would always say yes. I just thought, you know what, no, I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to take a bath, and I'm not going to go. It's just a time to simplify life, simplify your obligations, simplify your to-dos, simplify your home, simplify your closets, simplify life. Just get to the point that you crave simplicity and peace and freedom more than anything, and that'll move you to make those decisions and to do what you have to do. I hope it does, because the freedom is so much better than being suffocated in a life of stuff, clutter, noise, and just constant battling, day to day. Just liberate yourself one step at a time.